here's your switch, the switch stand.
Let me get a picture of you on there.
Look at that. Look at this. Obviously that's locked, but look at the size of that.
I don't know where that's going to go.
Yeah. Big semaphore signal. Figure I'll do a walk around of this first. Holy smokes. Yeah, this is somewhat of a smaller brother to Big Boy. Same kind of setup though.
You're right, it's smaller, but
It's in no way at all is it tiny.
What's that? Oh, I didn't realize you were recording. I apologize.
That's fine, no worries. I should make sure, yeah, it's picking that up. Holy mackerel. Like, just look at all the complexity of the driving gear for the wheels. Hydro test, 210 pounds. Tested on September 28th of 1963.
Yeah. Your mom wasn't even a year old.
Wow, look at the size of the Elvis. Look at the size of the firebox.
The whole thing.
Look at all the rivets. 3977.
46644.
Yeah, so 4664 for the wheel sets. Look at the water connections for the water lines coming off the tender.
Ooh, we can get in the cab.
Yeah, that's on both of them.
This thing is just amazing.
Here's the water crane. Putting water in the tender. Okay, yeah, I'm aiming high enough. I wasn't sure if the camera was aiming up high enough. Just gonna head across to the other side. 25,000 gallons. Holy mackerel, that's a lot of water. Huh, that's cool. Yeah, watch your fingers right there.
I'm gonna walk in here if you don't mind.
That's fine.
It's like a museum.
Yeah, no kidding. Whoa. Wow. All the air hoses. Holy mackerel. So I'm currently sitting in the engineer's position.
Yeah.
So here's your throttle.
Right, do you have both cameras going?
Yeah. So if I could pull that, so pulling that forwards would apply power. So here's your independent brake, which controls locomotive only.
Okay.
Hang on. Is that? Okay, let's try that again. Hold on. I don't think I have this in the right mode. There we go. It was in photo mode for some reason.
Probably hit a button by accident.
Yeah. Okay. So here's your automatic brake. And that's not, well, that's for the whole train. Independent applies brakes on the train. So as I push it away from me, you see how it's spring loaded?
Yeah.
So that's releasing all the pressure, and then it brings it back to the release position. That would be applying it.
Okay.
And then this is automatic brake, this other handle. Throttle. Not sure what this is. This is your Johnson bar for your directional control. And to be fair, I'm not sure what all the other ones are for.
Yeah,
There's
spend as much time
there's a defroster.
things, you know.
There's your cylinder cocks for draining the cylinders when you stop. Your smoke deflector, which on this engine, I can't really see it from my position, but that would put, I think, a deflector over the smokestack. I think. I'm not sure if that's right.
Very cool in here.
Yeah.
Much different than...
Yeah, it's a lot more different than you see what this is.
Yep.
That's your control for your lights.
It's interesting that as we're in here,
Yeah.
Yeah, everything's controlled by, you know, valves to let pressure go in and out of places.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, is that the horn, the thing up there?
This?
Yeah.
That's your whistle.
Oh, whistle.
So that, if I pulled it, and it actually...
Oh, there it is. It says whistle on it.
Yeah, that would blow your whistle.
Nice.
So, there's a valve that leads to that.
Cool beans.
Yeah. And then, of course, you can see, I don't know what this lever's for.
Everything's kind of has a...
What?
What do you call it?
I don't know.
It's interesting that your chest-mounted one has a flashing red light. Your head-mounted one has a solid red light. I wonder if they're in different modes.
Huh.
Well, we'll figure it out.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Turn the camera back on. You know what this is?
No.
That's a re-railer.
No.
So if this derailed, they'd pull this off, put it on the track, and it would re-rail the engine.
When we were at the Railroad Museum, when we were part of the Garden Railroad Club.
Yeah, kinda. So before we go in, I want to walk down to the end here, along the gangway.
Absolutely.
So look at this. So if you look in here, man, it feels like just being a real engineer. Look at this. Look in here. Top of the engine.
Yeah. It's a big piston that would go in there.
Look at that.
So they took the head off, huh?
Yeah.
Camshaft.
Look through here.
Yep. Wow.
Holy moly. Wow. I'm gonna walk all the way down to the end. Look at this. For the compressor.
Yep. 16-cylinder diesel.
Look at that. Man.
I think we were smart coming here early.
Yeah. And then if you look here,
It's the cut over.
yeah, this is the walkover. So you can cut through.
Let's see what's on the other side.
It's just all the doors. Yeah, they're all closed on this side. But look, here, if you come out, just look down that way.
Oh, wow.
And then look down that way. There you go. This is the crossover, because really this, because where this crossover is really where the end of the train, the locomotive would be if it had one power plant. I'll meet you down there. Holy. Cooling fan contactor cabinet. Wow. This must be for the other engine. Jeez. This is crazy. Walking on the gangway of a locomotive. Oh, that must be... Ah, sand cap. Yeah. Here's one of the sand things. Sand tank. Here. If you want to go by. Yeah, here, yeah, you weren't kidding. It is a skinny walkway. So here you are. So you're at the. So we are now at the long hood end of the locomotive, or the tail. You know what I just? You know what kind of thought just popped into my head as I'm standing back here?
I'm afraid that.
You remember the scene out of Unstoppable where Will's standing on the back on the long hood end of 1206, guiding Frank back as they're hooking the train up?
Yeah.
Trying to catch up to it. That's what this reminds me of, standing back here. Oh, look at this. Do you see this little window right here?
Yep.
All the different lights.
Yeah, I was looking at that.
Are you looking at this?
What is
This
it?
big tank?
Yeah.
That's for sand.
Oh, this is?
They pour sand in there. Here's another one of those RFID tags for the engine. Union Pacific shield on the side. Just so if you forget who owns this thing.
Yeah. Just in case.
Yeah. Yeah. There's only one railroad in the world that has this paint job. It is so cool getting to walk down the gangway, the walkways of the engine. all the way to the engineer's cab. Now look at this. Since it's so long, here's another access point to get on. Uh-huh. Man. Oh. Wow, look at this. Oh, if I can fit through the door. So you're in the second man position.
Yep. I figured I'd let you get in the captain's position.
Engineer. Yeah, so you want me to show you all the different controls?
Yeah.
Here, come here.
I'm coming.
I'll show you. All the different switches. So, okay, so I'm going off of what I've learned on Train Sim from the clinch field, because this is similar to that. So this is your automatic brake. So that's fully released. So there is, I think that's initial reduction. There's your service brake. Handle off. No, that's handle off. And then that's emergency. And then this controller doesn't have its handle installed. They removed it for some reason. This would be your. This is your independent. Yeah. So really, release, horn control. Not sure what this would do. I think that's your bell. No, this is your bell control. And then this is power reduction. I don't really know what that would do. So here's your reverser. So neutral.
Yep.
And then that's locked in there, but. Okay, and then so forward, and this is for some sort of reduction system. Mm-hmm. Oh, this is your dynamic. Yeah. So that's off, and then there's your reduction. So pull it to off. So if I have that activated, the throttle shouldn't be able to move. Okay, so now that's locked.
This is going to be a great video.
Off. So technically, what it would be is put it in forward. Headlight to front bright, brake released, you'd sound your horn twice, pull the bell, and then,
cool.
And then if that would actually move, you would notch it up one at a time until you hit notch 8. Oh, there it goes. So idle, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So full throttle. And then slowly, you don't want to shove it all the way, you want to notch it down slowly.
Yeah.
And then, so this would be no power. And so you can put the power in through the handle. One at a time. And you never want to immediately run to idle and then change gear. Because if you did this and then immediately open the throttle back up, you'd do some damage to your traction motors.
It's kind of like your transmission.
Yeah. So of course you'd have it, when you stop, you'd have it in idle. You would pull this control to off and then shut all your switches down. I'm not sure what this does. And then I want to show you, see these two gauges? So this gauge here is your main reservoir. So right now the brakes are set. So I'm looking at the two gauges here. So what you would want to see to get your train to move physically when you're sitting still, to get it to move, is you want this, from what I've learned, you want this red needle to be at 0, and you want this white needle to be sitting at about 90 psi. And then of course, and then of course you have the different controls here for brake versus power. So these are for your, so this is for your front power plant and rear power plant, because this is double engined. But the one thing you never want to see when you're running one of these engines, because so as you notched up the, so if I put that back to forward, put that back into 1, as you notch it up, as you notch your power up one at a time, what you don't want to see when you're notching the power up, you don't want to just see this suddenly go from the power position and then flip all the way to brake. Because if you do that, you're going to blow your traction motors. but you never want to, it's kind of the same thing with a car. You don't want to throttle up immediately. Once you have your power set, you want to slowly notch it up one at a time.
Makes sense. Makes perfect sense.
So that's full.
Yeah.
And then slowly notch it down to 0. And then you would neutral, and put that to off, and then this is locked in place.
Now we're ready to go get lunch.
Mm-hmm.
Or whatever.
We're going to kick this tour off here and coming up here, and you'll have to forgive me, I'm going to try to get things correct, but on your left side coming up, you'll see this is where we call our yard office. This is basically the command center of Bailey Yard. Bailey Yard is still considered to be the world's largest switch yard. It encompasses 2,850 acres of land. So it's 8 miles long from east to west and just shy of 3 miles wide, north to south. We've got about 700 miles of rail in this yard. So we got enough rail here to go just about almost from Cheyenne to Omaha.
That's a lot of baggage.
But right there in that building right there, which just happens to be my office too. So unfortunately I don't run the place, but although there's a lot of people that seem to think I do, I don't know why they would get that impression, but anyhow, sometimes I think I'm held accountable for things that happen in this yard, but anyhow. But yeah, this is our head shed right here. The general manager's there, the terminal superintendent, most of our management team works out of this building. So this is where all the decisions are made. The good, the bad, the ugly. So this is actually pretty much this is pretty much the center of the yard right here. And although in today's tour we're going to see quite a bit, and to be honest with you, we're actually not even going to see about a quarter of what's actually out here in the yard, just due to the restrictions of where we can take a bus and have everybody at. So if we were to actually give you guys a full tour of this yard, number one, we'd have to have smaller vehicles, and two, it would seriously take all day long.
I can imagine.
So,
sounds fascinating. Yeah.
always got to have somebody in front of us trying to test us out. Oh, that's all right. He can follow. He gets paid by the second.
Oi.
So, anyhow, the tracks you see out here to your immediate left, these are our what we call our east departure tracks. These are trains that come in out from the west, mainly from Cheyenne, and they come over our hump system to be classified. And once they get classified, which basically means they're torn apart, the train is basically switched out and torn apart and rehumped, or humped up, comes across our hump, which means each car is taken off that train, put into separate rails, because the easiest way to put this is when you see a train coming at you or out there, that whole train, all those cars in that train are not going to the same destination. Very seldom does that happen. So different cars that are going all over the United States. So when they get to a yard like Bailey Yard, which is considered a classification yard, they'll come here, and in one way or another, that train will get torn apart. All those cars will be separated from the train, and a new train will be made, with cars that are going to different destinations. That's what happens here. So those once they go over what the hump is basically a hill that those cars are shoved up and over, and they come down the other side, and we'll see two of them. We have two of those humps here in Bailey. So we'll see one off in a distance, and we'll try to get up close and personal with another one today. I don't know the exact elevations of either one. The smaller one, the west hump, is about 12 feet. The east hump is considerably bigger. It's about 22 feet.
Inside it said 20 and 35.
Yeah, that's probably more correct. I know that the east hump at one time was the biggest hump in the system. I don't know if it is anymore or not. They hit Roseville, I know, built a pretty new hump here a few years ago, so it might be even bigger.
Question.
Yes.
When they separate the train, how does the cars know which one to go into?
Okay, when we separate the cars coming off that hump, okay, you kind of envision on the other side of the hump when you're coming down the hill, you look at, it looks like a tree coming down there. No, I don't have any diseases. I got sinus infections, so sinus drainage actually. So I have been fully vaccinated, so I'm not having any problems there. Like, yeah, it looks like fingers or like a tree. So they come down. There's a computer that scans them. There's a tag on the side of each car that tags those. That tag has the identity of that car. It knows what the commodity is, what its destination is. So once it comes up to the top of the hill, the computer aligns the switches to go in the right track, and when it comes down the hill, gravity pulls it from there and puts it into that track. So
How long are the cars normally in the yard?
usually they'll usually spend about 24 hours in this yard, sometimes less. So this is our, like I said, this is our eastern parts. These are for trains that continue on east out of here. So basically what comes through North Platte here is North Platte usually covers anything that comes from Cheyenne, Wyoming, Marysville, Kansas, and Council Bluffs, Iowa, as well as Missouri Valley, Iowa. That's usually what comes through North Platte, and that's where we travel to as well from North Platte.
Out of those cars, how are they braked? Because they coming over the hump as they come up the other. Some trains maybe way down the track, some closer. So how does that car know when it's got to slow down somewhere so it doesn't crash into that train?
Yeah, as there's question is how do they brake as they go or slow down as they're going down the hill? I was going to kind of get that when we get close to the hump, and when I can actually show you. Hopefully we can show you. But when they have a system of what's called retarders, and what'll happen is once that car hits the apex of that hill, and it's released and it's coming down on its own, it's got a series of radar guns that are on that car, and its speed is getting constantly monitored, and the computer knows how far that car has to travel to its designated rail to it meets the next car into that rail. So it uses the mathematics of how fast it's traveling, how far it's got to go, and how much that car weighs, so basically how much inertia is generating to monitor the speed of that car. Well, if it's going too fast, they got these great big, what we call retarders. They look like a gigantic pair of tweezers or a pair of pliers. If it's going too fast, once it rolls over those things, they basically squeeze the wheels together. Huge squealing sound comes out of them, and it slows them down. I mean, if you don't like the sound of nails on a record or a chalkboard, okay, you will not like the sound of these retarders. I promise you. There's nothing like it.
I think we were here in this region. That's what else. Yeah, we were trying to figure out what it was coming from.
Yep, and here we go. First delay.
Yeah.
They're almost done though.
There's a couple of the carmen.
Oh, okay.
See, even here in the yard, with the railroad, working for the railroad, we still get stopped by trains. Good.
Well, at least you know when the delay's going to be.
This is kind of like the ultimate irony, isn't it? Yeah, he's either full or he's going to double himself up. He might be doubling up to another train up there, make him longer. so they can really irritate
refrigeration
people
core in
down
front
the
of us.
line further.
Now we're going
We'll see here in just a minute.
Now we're going into the freight yard.
These days there is no average length. All right, yeah, we go.
There's an engine set. And now we're going into the yard. We are officially on UP property. Here comes a Corman behind us. Man, look at that.
Just kind of take it a little once you get. Because as those cars are going through their normal life out there on the road, there's all kinds of things that can happen to those wheels. You know, you got steel wheels on steel rails, and different weather conditions. There are concrete ties and everything, and that's one of our switch crews up here. Now, if you look at this locomotive up in front of us here, switching out these intermodal cars. Okay, if you see the lights blinking up top of that, the orange lights. Okay, what that signifies that that's a remote control locomotive. There's no engineer on that locomotive. There's two trainmen on there, or in the vicinity, that are controlling that with a little box attached to a vest. They may be close by, they may be on it, or they could be a mile away. Someone's controlling that. Nobody is necessarily on that locomotive. They just need to be able to see where it's at. So it's a little bit different from when you were a kid and you had the little figure 8 you thought was really cool. Yeah.
It's basically the real world equivalent of that.
Yeah, this is a little bit different.
That's awesome. That is a big auto rack train.
This train here is probably going to Council Bluffs, in Missouri Valley. Yes, ma'am.
So if a train was going from like Cheyenne to Chicago, how many times would it go through a hump yard and get split up again?
Well, it would definitely probably get split up probably twice. And it depends on where, and they probably wouldn't build one that would specifically just this specific train is destined for Chicago.
Right.
You know,
Gotcha.
it would be a train symbol that train symbol would probably maybe end in Chicago, but all along the way they would have cars that would go all over the place.
Gotcha.
They'd switch. Some cars they would switch out here that would go to, let's say, Kansas City, and they might switch out some cars in Council Bluffs that went to Minneapolis, and then they may switch out cars in Des Moines that would go to, someplace in Wisconsin. It's hard to say. Artwork. Oh, that's artwork now, is it? Getting pretty woke on the graffiti, are we? Okay.
Urban art.
Urban art, there you go.
Yeah, artwork. Well, most cars are not owned by the railroads. Most cars are private cars, unless they actually say like UP 9318 or something like that, or they have the initials of a railroad on them. They're not owned by a railroad, so they're private cars. The only time that we will normally do anything with graffiti is, number one, if it's particularly offensive, or if it covers up the identification of the car. Like if you see on these cars, where this one over here says SMNX 044051, if it was covering that up at one of at a repair facility or something, they would do something to be able to see that number again. Okay, that's about as far as cleaning it off, we wouldn't do anything with it. Now over here on your right hand side, this is our car repair facility. This is not a whole lot of these on the UP system. There's only a handful of these. But this particular area, this place could just about do anything you can think of to a car. They can completely rebuild any car. So depends on what the shipper wants you to do with it. If it gets in an accident or if it's broken, they may say scrap it. They may say fix it. They may say return it to.
This is really cool.
Those big hay bales they can, but the wind's really got to be coming. I mean, specifically in the right direction for them to get rolling. You don't see them rolling very often, but if you see them rolling, they're stay indoors.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've never seen that.
Heavy tumbleweed.
Heavy tumbleweed. That's funny. I wonder what's the point of the windsock?
So they know when it's time to shut things down.
Man, this is so cool. There's all
Yeah, the car repair shop, they do they basically they do it, I guess you call it contract work, because if it's a privately owned car, I'm sure they have to contact the owner of the car to find out, you know, do you want us to do this work or what do you want us to do with this car? Or it might be built into the contract that they have with the railroad for using it, you know. I don't know that end of the business.
This little rusty thing, huh?
There's a couple of carmen working on something.
Car things.
Yeah, car maintenance work. Yeah, do you see how they scraped the spot where the where the graffiti was? It's blocking the symbols.
Yeah, it looks like these 4 cars over here, they're sitting by themselves. You keep driving. But these 4 cars here are what we call bad owner cars. They were set out for, they were obviously on an eastbound train, but if you see the red tags on them, the car forces decided that there's something wrong with them, so they're going to end up at the car shop over there to be repaired. Could be anything wrong with them. Could be something real simple. Could be something kind of complex. Hard to say. Could be anything. And of course, this guy's going to block our view of one of the humps.
There's another Carmen out there.
Yeah, the west hump. Yeah, as far as yard boot, one of the unique things about Bailey Yard, although they consider Bailey Yard to be 1 yard, it's actually 7 yards.
What?
Yeah, there's 7 yards wrapped up into one.
Holy
so
moly.
in each yard within here has its own separate mission. It does its own separate thing. And
I did not know
by every yard doing its own thing, somehow we managed to get trains built and out of here. So in and out, I should say. So you figure each location, it has 2 to 3 crews per shift, so 2 to 3 locomotives per location. So yard switch engines, probably at any given point in time about 20, and then whatever they have at the shop for reserve. So yeah, probably about 20 is probably a fair number. That might even be low. That they probably have more than that in reserve someplace, but just the math as to what actually has to happen. They have to have an upgrade that is a fair number. Yep. Yeah, the UP ones, those are actually owned by Union Pacific. I'm sure there is something out there, but I surely wouldn't know what it would be. I'm sure you can find a serious rail buff out there someplace that definitely have it for you.
Union Pacific leases these cars to signage.
Oh, yeah. You bet. Yeah.
There's one of the control towers.
Yeah, there's three main lines right over here, right off to your right.
There's the building spot.
Yep, and then the diesel shop over there.
So each of these cars has a tag on a code saying who owns it and so forth. Is there a magnetic code or a tag that's attached to those? Also, how does the computer pick up on that?
Yeah, I would try to find it for you. If you see there on the where the yellow striping is on the side,
Yeah.
well now we're past them, so now we gotta look at the coal cars.
If you look,
Right on the end, see where the
Yeah.
it's a little rectangular gray box. It's a magnetic code.
Ah.
Oh, I see it. Yep.
Yeah, it's read by what we call an AEI reader. So that will tell you that tells the computer system what's in there,
See, we switched the pole.
how much it weighs,
Yep.
where it's coming from, where it's going to. I mean, everything.
What does an average coal car like this cost?
Okay, yeah, go ahead. An average, I don't know how much a coal car costs.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, I really don't. A lot of it would depend on whether it's steel or aluminum. Most of them these days are aluminum. The steel cars are. I don't even know if they make them anymore. They go by a. There's another machine that actually. Yeah, they drive by it. It just does it on its own. It's like the RFID reader on your card.
Okay.
Same principle.
Okay.
Exact same principle. What's that now? No, these coal cars now. This the coal service is a totally different. These cars never really have to go over the hump or anything. They are what we call bulk commodities. They always stay the same. They always stay on the same train. They always stay as a train. So there's no reason for them to ever be classified. All they do, they stay on the same. They stay as a train together all the time because they always go to the same destination, to the same away from home terminal. They just on big circles. All they do. So. Here's the rear end of our train here. Notice the locomotives on the end of it here. Now these locomotives, there's no crews on this, and this is actually the rear end of the train. This is what we call our distributed power units. And what this does is this is it's not spread out, so when the rear end comes up, it doesn't come back down again and slap you. Which, if you've ever had that happen, is a really bad experience. So it really helps out. It actually saves a lot of fuel too by having those locomotives back there. So saves equipment, saves fuel, and it makes for easier traveling for these trains, less wear and tear. What's that? Oh yeah, we put them in the middle too. And now that we're running trains longer and longer and longer, you see them a lot more in the middle. Yeah, now if you start looking off to your left and to the front here, this is our east hump. This is where they're classified. They're classifying this train.
That is so cool.
Now this train would have come in from Cheyenne. And the cars on that train, as we talked about earlier, they're not all these cars are going to the same destination. So when it comes into the receiving yard, and once it's worked, and all the air is bled off the train and everything. A remote control locomotive runs around the other end, ties onto it, and starts shoving it towards the hill. Once it comes up the hill and it gets up to the apex of that hill, a mile away, someone's controlling that. Nobody is necessarily on that locomotive. They just need to be able to see where it's at. So it's a little bit different from when you were a kid and you had the little figure 8. That was really cool. Yeah.
It's basically the real world equivalent of that.
Yeah. Yeah. This is a little bit different.
That's awesome. That is a big auto wreck train.
This train here is probably going to Council Bluffs. Council Bluffs in Missouri Valley. Yes, ma'am.
So if the train was going from like Cheyenne to Chicago, how many times would it go through a hump yard and get split up again?
Well, it would definitely probably get split up at least probably twice. But, and it depends on where, and they probably wouldn't build one that would specifically just this specific train is destined for Chicago.
Right.
You know,
Gotcha.
it would be a trade symbol that trade symbol would probably maybe end in Chicago, but along the way they can stop them in place if they need to.
What kind of freight car is that that's currently coming down the hill? It's like a... Oh.
That could be rolled steel, or it could be some kind of something that needs some kind of protection.
Oh.
Normally it's rolled steel though.
And so, one other question I've got is,
Yeah.
what is it known as if a car comes over the hump past like the scanner tree and this computer doesn't pick up any sort of signal, like if the RFID tag had been ripped off the car and the computer wouldn't be able to identify it? What actually has happened?
If the computer can't identify it, that'll get caught before it even gets to the top of the hump. And then we have to bounce that off we have to do that manually, figure out where that car's at and what's in it and where it goes.
So before it even gets anywhere close to topping over the hill, the computer's like, wait a minute, this car doesn't have an ID.
Yeah, we'll know that before it even gets to the top of the hill.
Yeah, so you'll know and then do whatever is necessary to make sure that nothing bad happens.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So is there a guy at the top here with a remote controlling that locomotive?
No way, those knuckles are coming apart. But when they're in a neutral position,
That's cool.
which is the apex of that hill,
That is
there is
impressive.
one very minute opportunity to pull that pin lifter up. There's a little lever there where you can pull this pin lifter up that'll allow those knuckles to separate and open up. And that's what he's doing.
That is nuts.
Yeah.
That is way too
very
cool.
minute opportunity to do it.
That is.
You miss it. Then you gotta stop, you gotta back it up again and everything. And everybody yells at you because you're delaying things and
So the same guy's controlling the locomotive, pushing those up as is controlling the pin, pulling that pin?
correct.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep. Manually pull the pin.
It's kind of like we see at Denver North.
Just bigger.
A little bit, yeah, a little more high-tech operation.
Train cables.
Jeez.
The trains assembled on whatever.
Yeah, not too bad. Yeah.
Like sand tires.
It's an ongoing operation. This happens 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. So
You guys have trouble finding people? Just saying.
we always have trouble finding people. Always have trouble finding people. So they can release these cars depending on where they're going and how they're situated in the train, either one car at a time, 2 cars, or 3 cars. If they have a big block of cars, let's say 10 of them go to the same destination, they can't pull the pin on 10 cars at a time. That's just too much to let go of the pull at the time. They'll just shove those 10 cars down in there manually and let them go that way.
So they can only send up to 3 cars at a time over the
Three
hill?
cars max, that's it.
We just saw 4 go by that.
I was going to say, I saw it once with 4.
If you see four, one of them's probably a double. Yeah.
No, if you look on my video, you will get 4 ones. Huh. I didn't even think of that.
Saw some 4s this morning from the tower.
Yeah. Either that or somebody just did something they weren't supposed to do. I mean, that would never happen out here.
Oh no.
Okay, now, before we miss it, off to our right, we were talking about those bulk commodity trains. This east run through out here, that's 12 hours. So, and that's an absolute 12 hours. If they're on the main line and they're in the middle of nowhere, and that 12-hour mark hits, they stop in place to tie the train down.
I used to manage a train called the American Orient Express.
What's that?
I used to manage a train called the American Orient Express, and they'd get 400 yards out from their stop, and if that time expired, they would stop.
Yeah,
right there.
that's exactly. That 12 hours is no
400
joke.
yards, yeah, from that.
If you're 50 feet away from your destination, that 12-hour mark hits, you're done.
It was amazing.
You are not moving another inch. No, that is a non-negotiable FRA regulation. That if you get caught violated as a trainman, you will be broke for the next several years.
We had a conductor on the train was watching as it counted down, and boy, if it hit it, he would stop.
Yeah.
I mean, that's still right there.
Yeah, if you're on a train, you call Omaha and you say, look, we got 2 hours to work, that's it. And if they let you up to 12 and they haven't stopped you yet, hey, that's their problem. Not much you can do about it.
So you're basically saying that you can only work, so basically, if you're out in the godforsaken middle of nowhere, and then the minute that clock strikes your 12 hours, you stop the train right there, and then you can't go another foot forward, basically.
Exactly. If you're in the middle of
Mojave,
Mojave Desert, you had better be stopped at 12 hours.
Right at. You can't be applying your brakes when it hits 12.
At 12 hours, you had better not be moving.
we had
Or else
times
you're
when
in
we'd
a lot
have
of
to sit on the
trouble.
rail and we'd have to wait 6 or 7 hours for them
Yeah,
to truck
you
somebody
could
in
easily
to
be waiting the next
place
another
that
10
train.
hours for somebody to come pick you up too.
I'm pretty sure it's a little more.
Seems efficient.
Not
Yeah.
really. I'm pretty sure it's been done.
Up to your left here, all these cars over here. Well, actually, these ones closest to you are heading to the hump. These are the cars they're humping right now. But everything on the other side of that, all
Yep.
those, any cars you see past that,
So those two trains there are remote controlled?
yeah, that's the guy on top of the hump is controlling these two locomotives.
That is really cool.
That's amazing.
Okay.
We got somebody in that cab.
So with the remote
Yeah,
locomotive,
that guy that's sitting up there, he's not controlling that locomotive. The guy up on top of the hump is the one controlling it. But he's the one that took the locomotives down there to tie into those cars, and that's it. That was his job. Now he gets to sit there and he's along for the ride until they get up top.
so with the remote locomotives, do they all have like an individual remote ID? So there's no chance of like two remote sets getting
Yes.
mixed up between remotes?
Yeah, there's so many redundant safeguards into those things that there's got the default.
Somebody's controlling the engine and then all of a sudden say the remote fails. Basically, if the locomotive detects that over the circuit, it'll automatically apply the brakes so the train isn't moving on its own with no control.
Well, you have two modes. You have conventional mode, you have remote mode.
Right.
So the two aren't. It's not like you can just flip a switch and go from one to the other.
Right, but I'm just saying, like, if you're remotely operating the engine and then for some reason the remote, say, stops transmitting, would the locomotive notice that and then automatically go into like a fail-safe stop?
If anything goes wrong with if you're in remote mode and anything goes wrong whatsoever, I mean anything, that thing will bring itself to a stop immediately.
Okay, that's what I was trying to figure out.
Yeah, everything has to be going exactly correct.
So if one little thing goes wrong somewhere in there, then the train's like, nope, I'm not moving.
Exactly.
That makes sense. Thank you.
On the other side.
There it comes.
And not a whole lot of people get to see some of these coal trains from above.
Big intermodal.
So you hear about trains that are a mile long. Are there really trains that are a mile long?
Well, let's put it this way. These trains here are well over a mile long right now. And
There he
just
is.
think about this. We're doubling and tripling them up right now as we're leaving Platte. So we've
Wow.
got trains right now that they're leaving Door Platte that are 5 miles plus long.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. You'll be able to tell them because they're the ones that when you're stopped at the road crossing, you'll see three or four locomotives on the head end, 2, 3 on the middle, then another 2 or 3. Then the end will have 2 or 3 on the end. So, yes sir.
You were talking about bunching the trains up. I'm from Davenport on the Gibbon Cutoff, and we get coal trains through there that are 2 to 3 miles long.
I'm sure you do.
With engines.
That's a yeah.
Might have 2 engines, 2 units on the front, 2 backaways, 2 backaways, and 2
Holy
on the engine.
moly.
Yeah, 3 to 4 miles.
Absolutely.
Those couplers can handle that pressure, huh? That we used to know.
Well, that's where those
It's a good thing there are fail safes. There's the windsock. Kicking me.
PTC, positive train control.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be fair to say the PTC is kind of like
I'm sorry.
wouldn't it be fair to say with PTC it's more or less like kind of like autopilot
Yeah.
for the train control to stop
people
it if something went
calling
wrong?
my cell phone.
The automatic
Good
train
Lord.
control will stop it if there's one thing wrong.
Unfortunately, it's
Right.
business,
If
and I have to.
the engineer doesn't hit
I'm kind of
the thing every
required to
30
do
hit a
it.
button every 30 seconds.
But
it's gonna go in.
now this building we see
Right.
off here to our left, this is actually not a UP building. Okay, this is actually General Electric. All the General Electric has off-site warranty work done. Everything else has to go to them.
That's unbelievable. Makes sense though.
Yeah. Now up to the front, you see another erector set looking thing. This is our west run through. This is to expedite our bulk commodities traffic going west out of here. It's not quite the same setup as the east run through. Whereas the east run through, everything stays connected to itself. It's all coupled up. Locomotives stay on the train. Nothing is disconnected from anything. It all stays as one unit. Over here, it's a lot different. The coal yard is off to our front. We can't really see it right now very well. But they take the locomotives off. They bring it up to here. And this is where they do all the work on it. They'll fuel them. They'll re-sand them. They'll do everything that needs to be done. They'll clean them up. And then they'll put them back on the trains from here.
Holy mackerel.
Not quite as proficient as the east side, but it's just the way it is.
That is unbelievable. So you're basically saying with this, instead of leaving the whole train coupled together with head and tail power, they unhook whichever end, bring them to here, sand, fuel, lubrication, anything,
Correct.
and then back them back down the track to couple to their assigned train, and then they continue.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
You haul all this coal east.
These are empty coal trains coming from the east. Okay, we already hauled the coal to them.
Right.
Now they're coming back to get refilled.
So they come back in.
Yeah, they come back here empty. They're coming back through. Now what'll happen? Now what'll happen here while these empty coal trains are here, and they get worked over here. They get identified if they got bad cars, the bad odor cars, which is cars that need worked. They'll get removed here and get sent to the repair shop, and power get worked and everything, and they'll be shipped off to South Morrow where those cars will be replaced.
There's a little blue bullet.
Because everything coming out of, before they can get to the mines, everything needs to be at contract length. So if the contract for a company is they have to have a minimum of 145 cars on the train, before we can send it to the mine, it'll have 145 cars. Period. Because, oh my God, Area 51.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Okay. You guys want the public relations reason for Area 51, or you want the truth?
Give us the truth. Or both. Give us both.
Well, the public relations Area 51 is that at one time we were able to run 51 coal trains through here one day.
Wow.
Which is quite a feat. It really is. On the more realistic side, just like the Area 51 that doesn't exist in the Nevada desert, that nobody's ever been to before because it doesn't exist. Strange things tend to happen inside that building. Strange decisions made by strange people that don't really exist. So you can kind of take it from there. A lot of management in that building. A lot of management that don't exist.
It's basically all the top secret stuff about Bailey that they don't want you to know.
Exactly.
Hey, what, see this caboose over here? What was the previous purpose of cabooses and how come no trains have them anymore?
That's one of the few active cabooses that you'll actually see within Union Pacific. Nice.
There it is. Top secret.
I know you can get those cars at 20 miles an hour coming down the other side real easy. The heavy concrete cars.
Going down's always easier than up.
Indeed. I wonder what's in that building.
We can get it. When I was growing up, we used to get a lot of snow out here. I mean, it wasn't uncommon, you know, anytime after Thanksgiving to have, you know, constant 4 or 5 feet of snow on the ground all the time, and then leave that thing half full of water when you throw it on the ground. Well, when you got 6 inches of snow on the ground, that thing becomes a serious hazard when you step on it.
Ah.
Right, and that causes some pretty severe injuries.
There he is! Oh, that is so cool! 4014 rolling into North Platte. Oh, that is so cool!
He's got a caboose on the end.
Oh, look at that! Wow! Oh, this is going on the Steam page. There's the end. Holy moly! I like that. That's a good slogan.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, there's crosswalks for the
This is. Oh my gosh, I am so happy.
Couldn't have timed it any better.
That couldn't have been timed any more perfectly. The big boy rolled through as we're on our tour. That was about the coolest thing on earth.
Hey, he stopped over here.
They'll pull quite a bit.
Yeah, look.
They'll pull,
There he is.
Pull
He
as much
stopped
weight
over
as
there.
Road locomotives.
Probably getting ready because it's not supposed to pull into town until 2:30.
There's the remote set working.
Yeah.
This is unbelievable. No words can describe any of this. Oh, I got your thing. I got your message.
Everybody else, I can't see it.
See him out there?
Oh,
See
yeah. Yeah.
experience the Union Pacific cars? And when he pulls into town, I'm going to want to check out the Experience the Union Pacific little gift shop. Because they have like a little gift shop on board.
They're all day tomorrow.
Yeah, I wanted to get some souvenirs from there. This is, I can't even, my excitement's through the roof right now. You probably can't, it probably doesn't look it. My excitement meter's broken. Yeah, there he is. So you can see it's too big.
Right here.
Yeah,
Big boy is right over here, people.
there he is.
Yeah, looks like we got another sighting here.
Just on the left. Those yellow.
We'll be able to
Those
see
big
him
yellow
there.
cars, that's him.
Just barely see him on the other side of the building over there.
Wow.
He's hiding.
He's trying to hide from everybody.
He's hiding behind the tree.
Look at that. There he is. This is gonna top the when we're in Denver in a few weeks. When it comes to Denver in a
Oh,
couple weeks. Yes, it's rolling.
Yeah, we'll just kind of go by nice and slow and let you guys do what you got to do.
Look at that.
He's moving again.
Yep, he's moving.
He's probably just waiting on the light.
There he goes.
Wow. That's amazing.
Oh, just look at all the
Yeah, even on the railroad, we got stoplights just like you guys do.
Look at all the motion. All the mechanical motion moving. Oh my gosh.
Yep.
Look at that. That is $1 million shot. Holy smokes. That is wicked. That is just too cool.
Yeah, he's got the cab signal devices and all that stuff. He's got the major safety devices.
Wow. Look at that.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Is that running under its own power or is it being pushed by these others?
It's really by its own power.
I think he's being pushed.
I think
Yeah, I think he's being pushed. He would be chucking smoke out the stacks.
No, just go take a right down here.
Oh my gosh!
If they were humping cars, we'd be doing something a little different.
Look at that! That is the coolest thing ever. I just watching all the motion moving is just way too mesmerizing. All the motion control. Well, we will see Big Boy in town in a few minutes. Recording now.
No.
There's the rundown coming off the hill. East Hump.
What's the engine doing in the middle behind the big one? Is he powered up?
Well, it's the one in the middle. The reason that one in the middle is there is it actually applies dynamic brakes to the Big Boy itself, because the Big Boy is generating so much power that it can't be left to run free. So it's got to have it's got to have some kind of resistance on it. So they're constantly calling back to that other locomotive to say, hey, look, we need some more dynamic brakes. They need some kind of resistance to it.
Isn't another reason for the diesel engine on the Big Boy consist? Isn't another reason for it so that they don't wear out the brakes on Big Boy himself? Isn't that what one of the other reasons
That could be
is?
part of it. I don't know all the ins and outs of it. I just I know I've heard several times that the crew to the Big Boys is constantly telling their support crew back there to put more dynamics onto the diesel locomotive back there to slow them down so they don't run away from them.
I just remember hearing something saying that they can't make the brake pads for him anymore. The UP Steam Shop isn't able to.
I don't know how true that is. I mean,
I don't think that's very true, but that's just something I heard.
I don't think they'd be running that thing if they couldn't make the equipment for it.
That's not exactly fine.
I mean, you got to remember they had to virtually rebuild that entire thing from scratch.
True.
I don't think making brakes for it would be a big thing.
That sounds pretty obvious.
Yeah.
End of track. There's the bowl.
If you're close enough to read it.
Okay, now looking up front here, this is our diesel shop.
Wow, it's like a monolithic building.
This is actually one of the bigger diesel shops that you'll see. Although it looks like there's a lot of locomotives in here, there's really not.
What?
Yeah, there's times in here where you can't really even see any of this stuff in here. We have so many locomotives in here that you can't see anything but locomotives.
Isn't the diesel shop considered like one of the largest maintenance facilities in the world?
Yeah, I don't know about the world. I know it's the largest on the UP system.
That makes sense.
This particular one is.
It's a giant facility.
Yeah, we could do pretty much anything you need. A locomotive needs to be done here outside of warranty work that can only be done by General Electric.
At that shop at the other end.
God forbid that we should be able to replace that double top secret bolt.
It's just like a car where they're like, nope,
exactly.
you can't.
Only the dealer can do that.
Only the dealership can touch that. You touch that, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
One year it doesn't
kind of feels like that tag on a mattress.
Oh, they had them here too.
Yeah. Under penalty of law, don't remove this
four
tag.
engines, I know that.
I don't understand the reason
This
for
is
those tags on mattresses.
Well, if you read it all the way through, it says it's.
So you may have answered this during the excitement back there, but how come there wasn't a ton of smoke billowing out of that Big Boy? Was it moving under its own power?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's under its own power.
I think it's because he's running under oil now. He's not burning coal anymore, so I think he burns a lot cleaner now. They converted him to oil after the 2019 tour.
You get on the oil so much.
Yeah.
What?
I saw steam on the bottom.
Wow, that's amazing. I never knew that. This is so cool.
This was worth it.
Oh my gosh, I'm so happy. This is amazing.
I was trying to I was hoping for it to be at least get a glimpse of Big Boy sometimes.
I'm loving this so much. No words can describe this.
That was perfect. You did.
Like I said, I didn't think we'd be that successful.
Supply operations.
And they burned coal, that thing carried 57,000 pounds of coal.
Wow.
How long did it take them to burn through all that?
27,000 gallons of water.
Holy mackerel. How long would it take them to burn through all that coal?
Well, as far as maintenance goes with locomotives, it kind of varies as to what kind of service they're
That's
in.
amazing.
But they do have routine maintenance as far as how many hours
Took me a
they've
long
worked,
time to get it,
how
but I
many
finally
miles
got
they've
it.
traveled.
I can imagine.
What kind of terrain they're traveling on. They have all kinds of different maintenance schedules.
That's a big honking.
Locomotive maintenance schedules make
That's
your
a
brand new car
giant
maintenance schedule
building.
look sick.
Holy smokes. That's a huge structure. I wonder how many locomotives they repair per day. So how many locomotives are they able to fix up to work on at least within one shift at this facility?
I have no idea. That kind of varies as far as
Like
probably
day by
what
day?
needs to be done with locomotives.
Kind of like day by day.
I mean, they could.
varies.
This shop could do anything. They can replace engines on them if they need to. Replace compressors. I mean,
So really, if necessary, if a locomotive rolled in here that was really at the end of its life about to fall apart, they could basically rebuild the entire engine mostly?
well, if they wanted to take that route, but oftentimes if they've been used to that point, it's most likely it's probably more cost effective to sell them for razor blades and buy a new locomotive.
Sell them for razor blades.
Well, when they auction these off, that's normally who buys them. It's razor blade companies.
I don't know why, but I find that to be funny for some reason. Yeah, there's the burned up one.
Where do you hold your scrap? That goes in the razor blade.
That's true.
Yeah.
Razor blade.
This is unbelievable.
You got a lot.
Next time I need to shave, I'm just gonna go around my face for it.
I figure if you sharpen the edge of one of the doors, make it sharp enough, you could shave with the door.
If there's a locomotive coming along, I'm sure that'll take care of things quick.
Oh, that was the greatest thing on earth. Oh, look at that. 4014.
Yeah, there you go. Good boy.
Weathered one. Oh, and look, they've even got the full consist laid out, minus the locomotive. Oh, and there's 911.
Yeah.
Look at this. Look at that.
Oh, I like that.
A little flashing on the train device.
Oh, look who's there.
Oh, Blue Bear. I mean, this is the Denver one, so. Yeah, I think you want to be on the other side of that blue tape.
No, it's just part of
Oh, I wasn't sure if that.
gym floor.
Oh, there's something going on inside that building.
Looks like they're working on a train.
Oh yeah, that's the diesel shop.
Is that their welder?
Probably it's working.
Maybe that's
in
you.
there.
Oh, look at the turntable over there. Sorry.
Yeah, and that's another unit. 4012.
It's another big boy.
You know, and then look at these couple trains sitting here. A couple of different cabooses. You know what that blue car is? That's a track cleaner. Yeah, that blue one's a track cleaning car. And then you see Rio Grande, and then look at that big that one locomotive on the front. Oh, and here goes this intermodal. We just started moving. And then look at the steam shop.
Like that. There's also
Yeah, Taco Bell, of course. Oh, check out this coaling, the coal-fired power station. Yep, and the substation. There's the highway. There's their big yard where they marshal everything. Yep. A couple of little Unimogs on that one. Oh, look at that. Course plant.
Yeah. We're golden.
Oh, check this out. Firefighters putting out the fire.
Coal fire or brush fire?
That's a brush fire. wow, look at this. As they're getting them all ready. This is their whole marshalling yard area where they set them all up before they roll them out onto the layout. And look, lo and behold, there's a couple more big boys. We got 2 more. Well, no, that's big boy. That one is the Challenger.
My friend said
He had an
big
HO,
boy HO.
yeah, HO scale version. Yep. Oh, look at that. That's going down the road. So there's a little wire underneath. Here's your highway department yard.
You know, like those big V-blade plows.
Yeah. V-blade plow. Yeah, it's a tongue twister. It's a full lap around that one. There's a remote engine. See that remote engine?
Yep.
Blinking lights? Yeah, a little bit of everything on this run. Oops, sorry. Oh, look what happened here.
Oh my.
Look, old derailment and fire. There's the DDX. And look, they've got, even got the local news team out here.
Yeah.
There's the caboose. Its little marker lights. Brand new track train being run out. Propane delivery facility. Trailer that was a little overloaded. Yep. Light tower. Light on the water tower. Big mobile crane. Cattle trucks loading up.
Control one coming back towards us.
Yep, I see the light. A military train. There's that observatory you were talking about.
There's that observatory I was talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the Oreo cookie box car followed by the milk tanker.
Yeah. Look at that one, the big O-scale auto train. Caterpillar train. Construction train. You see all the signals they've got laid out?
Yeah.
Just trying to follow it around. See what they've got up on the tape here? That's the video that they've got playing at Golden Spike Tower. Oh, look at that. Kind of bumps back and forth.
I like this. You see that? Locomotive?
Yeah. You see how that little guy kind of bumps back and forth, those little sensors? Oh, look at this. This Caterpillar one.
I like that.
Oh, look at this military one. Oh, look at this. It's the big veranda diesel. It's the big turbo one with the jet engine inside it. That is cool.
That's the coal turbine.
Yeah. Isn't there, so there's the coal turbine, and then isn't there also one that runs on, it's like bunker C for the jet, for the, there's the actual jet turbine. Whoa. Oh, look at this. Check that out. That is really cool. Model of the hump. Yeah, we were just up at the Golden Spike Tower a couple days ago watching them do this, and they were telling us some about this kind of setup, and this is really cool. Seeing a whole mock-up of the hump operation. That's so cool. And look at this, you've got the Caterpillar heavy machinery, the crane, a couple of plows. So you got that one plow, and then there's the one with the wings. And then look at this. This heavyweight car. That's impressive. Oh, look at this one. That's the General Electric prototype for their hybrid engine. That green one, that green and blue one. That's when General Electric was doing a prototype for that. Hump setup is really impressive.
That is.
I really like that.